Hello, everyone. I wrote a song as a response to the Sabbath unit of our Hebrew class, and the chapel stewards asked if I'd be willing to share that with the greater Western community. So, if it's all right with you, I'm going to play the song and then share some reflections on it. 6 days done, everything had just begun. Beasts of the field and the air and the underground wonder all together what the Maker's next words will be. In the evening light, God declared it was complete. It is finished, the work is done. Set this day aside for everyone. For rest and blessing, preachers come to the Sabbath sun. 40 years done, will their land and Lenten song. They can nearly taste all the milk and honey promised them. Desert people wonder what their prophet's next words will be. On the edge of their land, he told them to remain free. We were slaves in a foreign land. Don't forget your parents' calloused hands. Let this day of liberation stand in our promised land. It is finished, the work is done. Set this day aside for everyone. For rest and blessing, creatures come to the Sabbath sun. Darkness fell on a Friday night that knew no light. Disciples hid their faces on a Sabbath day so full of fright. On Sunday, Mary came to give the world a new gospel word. On the 8th day, Mary said she saw the Lord. It is finished, the work is done. See how death and sin have come undone. And Easter songs for every song, new creation, the sun. We were slaves in a foreign land. Don't forget your parents' calloused hands. Let this day of liberation stand in our promised land. It is finished, the work is done. Set this day aside for everyone. For rest and blessing, creatures come to the Sabbath sun. Thank you, everyone. All right, a few reflections that I've had and fellow students of mine have had as I've shared this song with them. The first is I'd like to mention the tuning of my guitar. This was intentional. It was a open tuning. There's just more resonance and ease, I find, in this tuning. At the beginning of the song, and when I play the 3 Ds, Jimmy mentioned that kind of reminded him of the tuning of a guitar. And I thought that was fitting, because I think joining and participating in Sabbath songs attune our hearts to the Creator and the Creator of the Sabbath. So at the beginning, I think of tuning and attunement. Oh, maybe my guitar's not perfectly in tune. Those of you with perfect pitch, I apologize. Another thing about this tuning that I find interesting is just the ease of it. As I mentioned earlier, I don't need to fret any notes with this hand. I can just strum. And the notes seem to stay in the room longer when I play like this. When I fret notes, it seems to muffle it, and the similar strings seem to reverberate and resonate with each other more than usual. Perhaps Dr. Stubbs could explain some of the science behind that for us. But the ease of Sabbath and the idea of the Sabbath song kind of resting in the rooms of your heart longer because of your attunement is something that I think of. And Dr. Bechtel also talks about the reverberations in Scripture quite a bit. I remember her bringing her harp into class and thinking about how certain texts have resonance with each other. And that was an intentional thing in this song too. There's, in all the verses that I reference in my song, are mentions of Sabbath in Scripture. Two mentions of them were in the Ten Commandments, in Exodus, that kind of focuses on the completion of creation, and in Deuteronomy, where the Sabbath commandment is rooted in the liberation from bondage, and it's kind of inviting us to find ourselves in those stories and in those songs. And then in this last one, as we reflect on Good Friday and Holy Saturday and Easter Sunday, thinking about the Sabbath songs we find in this story. Lynn mentioned a connection that I hadn't thought about, that the Hebrew Sabbath is on Holy Saturday. And I think that's a really interesting thing for us to reflect on in this Easter season as we anticipate new life and new flourishing and new hope as we're trapped in this quarantine. I think, and the uncertainty of that, the fear of that, are all themes that are held in a Holy Saturday. So perhaps holding those themes of Sabbath in our singing of Sabbath songs is appropriate for this year. And then finally, you might have noticed at the end, I added one more octave of the Ds to the end of the song, and this is meant to represent our participation in the Sabbath songs. Perhaps there are new reasons to participate in Sabbath every time it's observed. Every time we sing these Sabbath songs, we find new melodies and new sweet things in the singing of Sabbath songs, in the remembrance of Sabbaths past, the kind of this fullness of time that we find every week on the 8th day. So, thank you for listening to my song and my reflections on it. Blessings and safety and health and love and hope and everything else to you.